Welcome to the June 23rd, 2020 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we got another really great show. We got some interesting things that happened this week, some new announcements that really floored the internet. People were, genuinely shocked about what happened this week, so...
Wait, the internet has a floor? I thought it was, a series of tubes.
Well, we know it doesn't have a ceiling.
I suppose not, yeah. Oh, because again,
it just keeps going up.
Series of tubes.
Yeah. But probably the biggest story this week is something that was a bit of a known quantity, but Last of Us Part 2 was released.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very momentous game for this generation, I would say. And something that I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to playing. Of course, you have your general ne'er-do-wells on the internet, review bombing this thing because they are homophobic. But
yeah, if only there was some way we could have known that there was a gay character in the game 5 years ago. Wouldn't that have been nice?
I don't get it. They're like, oh, this is just them, trying to appeal to the SGWs. They just want a character, a real one.
Actually,
finally.
Speaking of all that, I think that, and it's not the most common, Pac-Man was Puck-Man, but still, for the original The Last of Us, Naughty Dog had to fight, I forgot who, marketers or somebody, but they had to fight to get Ellie's face as the bigger, more foreground picture on the cover instead of Joel's.
She's the main character. Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy world out there, but of course critics love the game, so
yeah, I look
that
forward
should
to
point you in the right direction.
But I'll buy it when it's not $60.
Yeah, I haven't even played the first game yet, so I'm not buying it. And plus, it's not exactly they're going to be hurting for money here.
I know, The Last of Us did gangbusters.
Yeah, I mean, I buy stuff like Sakura Wars, to make sure that I can get a copy of it. Number one and number
428 Shibuya Scramble, which
yeah, exactly.
That does not have a marketable cover. You see that in the story, what?
What even is that? Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea what I was looking at.
But that's kind of become a cult hit too. So they're doing just fine with those. But
I bought it because it was Spike Chunsoft. I didn't even know what the game was, and it turns out it's one of the best games in its entire genre.
Yeah, it was one of the. I think it's the number one reviewed game on the Wii, in Japan. So
yeah, it was. I think I've mentioned this before, but it was one of few games that got a 40 out of 40 in the Famitsu magazine,
including a JoJo game.
JoJo got a 40 out of 40.
Yeah, it was very contentious because it's not a good fighting game. It's a good fan service game.
All-Star Battle.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, as someone who has played every JoJo game,
you can't
none of them
which
are
one that could be.
close to 40 out of 40. The best JoJo game there is probably the Capcom fighter. All-Star Battle's okay.
Well, their rationale was that nothing had ever given JoJo that kind of fan service ever before that.
That's
point.
true, but a perfect score? You know how much of a JoJo fan I am, and most JoJo games are mediocre at best.
It's probably the most contentious review that
that's kind of bullshit, and I like All-Star Battle. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Famitsu is not the end-all be-all, is what I'm saying. I
guess not, but 428 is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, but many times it can be an indication of something that's good. You know? So I'm excited for that, but of course, I still need to play the first one and the DLC. So
yeah, you do.
I'm not
I still need to play the DLC myself.
I actually returned to playing a bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake this weekend. I got an hour or two into that more.
You're almost there.
Well, I think it's only a 20-hour game to begin with, so
okay.
I think so. Unless you want to do side stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Your mileage may vary. I still remember when Ground Zeroes came out. Now it's just part of Phantom Pain, but when just Ground Zeroes came out, if you really just want to make it to the end credits, that game is 10 minutes long or 15 minutes.
Yeah,
but there's so much more to do if you feel like it, though.
Yeah, I don't know. It's what's the playtime on Final Fantasy VII Remake? Oh, 35 to 40 hours. Okay, that's a full game length.
Yeah, that's solid for disc 1 of the PS1 game.
Well, I mean, I'm actually glad that it's only 35 to 40 hours because, like, I got other shit to play. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I'm excited. I have a whole bunch of other stuff to play after that too. So anyway, moving on. Probably the biggest shock of the week. This was huge. New Pokemon Snap was announced. It's actually just called that.
I mean, I remember when the Wii U came out. You know what I want for the Wii U? Fatal Frame, Pokemon Snap. And somehow they delivered on Fatal Frame first. That's incredible. And Pokemon Snap, though, yeah, like the Wii U and or the Switch have been begging for both of those games. So I guess the Wii U has one and the Switch has the other.
This will be a really good Switch game, though. I mean, you could play this in handheld mode, and I'm sure there's going to be some kind of gyroscopic controls.
You probably should play it in handheld mode.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like you could probably play it just fine, on the screen as well.
Well, yeah, it was just like Fatal Frame for the Wii U. You could use the tablet as your camera, or you could play it in a traditional style.
Yeah, so that's the way to go. I mean, the game looks gorgeous, which is probably the most important thing about it.
Yeah. Maybe
Pokemon
it has more
Snap
than 63 Pokemon.
It just... Yeah, I hope they... it was kind of disappointing that they didn't include, like, every single Pokemon up until that point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I think the idea was to have 64 Pokemon because, get it? But Nintendo there were just 63.
Yeah.
That was a little
including weird. Mew, right?
Yes, including Mew.
Yeah.
Mew was the final stage.
I remember beating the shit out of the original. And I even went to Blockbuster to print out my my stickers.
Yeah, I never did that, but I remember that you could do that.
But I'm very excited about this. Apparently, Bandai Namco is helping out in developing the game, so that's good. It'll be a good. It looks like it's going to be a good game.
I wonder if they're still going to have you throw like pester balls. Like I really wonder how the game's going to play. If it's going to be like the first game, because the first game is frankly very basic. You could beat the whole thing in like 40 minutes.
All I see is apples so far, just like your
well, that is classic.
Initial
because the original game had apples, pester balls, and the poke flute.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll have all kinds of different things to. I mean, it just looks like a really fun game. I'm sure this would be a game that my fiance would like watching me play, that kind of thing.
I forgot, what wasn't your name in that game? Some kind of word that related to what you did. Like, if that makes sense.
Forget.
You know, like a fast person
like a
named
pun.
Skip. Yeah, like your name. I could have sworn your name was something like...
It might just be Snap or something.
I know it wasn't that on the nose, but I have to look up what your...
I know the character appeared in one episode of the anime.
Oh, your name actually is Todd Snap. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was Todd, yeah.
Good one.
Todd. But I'm excited. I mean, I would guess that the Japanese one is an equal to pun as well. So.
I don't think it was. I think that was the Japanese one. No. Okay, no. It's sorry. I read Todd Snap and then Japanese blah, but the Japanese name was something else. Yeah, I'll have to look up what that is.
I'm sure it's a different pun.
It probably is.
But something similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way a lot of like happy-go-lucky animes are. Lots of puns like that.
Your name is Toru, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah. But that wasn't the only game that like got a surprise announcement. Actually, there are two more, like pretty big ones.
Oh, the next one. By the way, the name Toro is to take or to steal, like to take a picture. Take, so yeah, close enough.
Yeah. There you go. So the next one was a new skate game got announced. So I hope very excited about that.
I hope it provides as much hilarious, glitchy entertainment as Skate 3 did.
Just look up Skate 3 outtakes or glitches.
Like those games look really cool.
They're a lot of fun.
The Skate 3 bugs are hysterical.
I could honestly watch those for hours and laugh every time.
I don't even remember.
They're really funny.
I don't even remember what was different from video to video, but I remember one video cracked me up just because the name of the video was "This game is patched." Like, that's great.
Some of the best ones I saw were like somebody like playing as Isaac from Dead Space.
Oh, and, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because you could unlock him in that game.
Well, yeah, it's like Tony Hawk. You can play as all sorts of ridiculous characters.
Yeah. So this is really cool, especially on the the coattails of the Tony Hawk remaster.
Yeah. So
getting
what
announced.
would this be? Like, I don't think I think people said there'd be a new Skate game. I don't know if it's like officially Skate 4 or anything.
So they haven't specified what it is. They haven't specified whether it's a collection or like a remastering of the first 3 games, or whether it's a 4th game or
something different. I don't know if I've ever seen Skate 1. I've seen Skate 3 and Skate 2 sometimes, but I don't think I've ever seen just Skate.
I actually own Skate 1.
Huh.
Yeah. Those games are really great, and they were a different style of game than Tony Hawk, but also very good. So a bit more realistic, except for all the glitchy stuff. But
Tony Hawk was intentionally absurd.
Yeah, I mean, like you could just grind forever, which is not a thing that anybody can do.
And you're like, break all 5 alarm bells, or go through the glass, or ollie over this guy. It's, what? Like, Skate, I think, tried to be a little more grounded.
Yeah, Skate also prided itself in you being able to like set up your own kind of area to do tricks in. Like, cool. you could pull over ramps and build your area up.
Nice.
That was something you could do. You can run around like off of your board as well. That's something like you could do in Skate.
You could do that in some of the later Tony Hawk games, I believe.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, early ones, no way.
It also had like a thumbstick style control scheme, which is quite a bit different than Tony Hawk's like Street Fighter, almost like Street Fighter button combo kind of thing. Yeah. Whereas Skate had you do ollies by doing different combinations of like thumb flicking and all that kind of stuff. So It's a cool game. It had Rob Dyrdek in it. Was like a big prominent person in those, and he's the guy from Ridiculousness. If you know what that is.
I don't even know what that is.
It's kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos, but with YouTube videos.
Is it actually funny?
I mean, the videos are actually funny, and he's the host. It's like it's MTV's like teenage version of
because I mean
of America's Funniest Home Videos.
I mean, I'm kind of joking because America's Funniest Home Videos is like,
oh, you mean the voiceovers
draining.
And all that stuff?
Yeah, there's nothing funny.
No, it's not like Bob Saget. He's funnier than that, but
Bob Saget's way funnier than that shit. I feel bad.
It's just what he wrote for kids at the time,
Yeah.
But anyway, he actually wrote a lot of the episodes of Full House too, which
that's
really
that
funny.
by itself is really funny. Yeah, the fact that he wrote this saccharine, harmless milquetoast stuff and like,
and he's like the dirtiest guy.
Yeah,
around.
Knowing who he is, like, whoa.
You ever suck dick for coke?
Yes, for weed? Is that the Full House guy?
Yeah, you ever suck dick for weed? Yeah, that was the first time I heard Bob Saget say something like that, and apparently he's like that all the time.
Well, that's what kills me. It's like, oh, he does adult stuff too? It's like, no, he did adult stuff first.
It's like you just didn't know it.
Yeah, with no idea. It's like seeing in Sesame Street nods to like shows your parents watch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, they made references to things like Law and Order. Like they had a puppet for Munch, or a Muppet for Munch.
They did Twin Peaks. They did Game of Thrones. They did Stranger Things. It's like, oh my god. I mean, they didn't like reference the show's real content because, come on. But it's like we are acknowledging that these things exist, and that's kind of far enough, honestly.
Did you ever see the episode where Bert interviewed Andy Samberg?
Nah.
This is a real thing. You should look it up. It's really funny.
Okay. The last time I think I remember seeing a celebrity appearance on Sesame Street was either Peter Dinklage doing something like unrelated, like he wasn't doing like a Tyrion thing. It was just, here's Peter Dinklage. Or Jack Black just talking about, I think it was with Elmo, talking about octagons. Like 8 sides and 8 glorious angle. Like, it had nothing to do with Jack Black being in movies or in the band. Like, it was just like, we have a celebrity and we're going to talk about shapes. Like, that's all it was.
Well, the ones that I remember from when I was a kid was Yo-Yo Ma. He used to go on there, like the famous cellist.
I think the only one I remember them calling out by name, I think, was like Barbara Walters.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, certainly exciting. Skate is a cool one, and people have been asking for this for years. So hopefully it's something good. Hopefully it's something that represents the series well and gets people talking about it again. Because if it's shitty and then like buries the series for another 10 years, that would really suck.
Well, that's the thing. Skate 3 was on PS3. It's been a while.
Well, this is what I always say. Like, when they have like a series that like dies out and then they bring it back, but it's shitty. That does more damage to it than anything, because then they think that like the property isn't viable. Which, no, you just made a bad game.
Yeah, that happens far too often. They're like, I see the numbers and they're not good. It's like, well, try making a good game then.
I guess the Fear Effect license is no good.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another thing of bullshit. Like, Fatal Frame 5 was released like digitally only in America. I wonder why it didn't do well. And Fear Effect was like also released like secretly, like Fear Effect Senna. Like, what? What's happening?
And it was shitty. It was really bad.
The last game was on the fucking PS1, and like in the PS3 or 4 era, they released Senna secretly on GOG. No one even knows what Fear Effect is anymore, and they're like, here, a new Fear Effect game. Like, what? What's this?
Yeah. Remember the game with the first lesbian kiss in it? Oh, well.
Yeah, I wonder why this isn't doing well. Maybe because you've never heard of it and we're not helping explain it. Okay, bye.
Moving on from that, another big one. This was actually like leaked out before it was like officially acknowledged, but Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time is what it's called.
Yeah, Naughty Dog is just really belting them out.
So that's really a great name for it. It's almost like the Sharknado ones, like, oh hell no.
Yeah,
it's about time.
Well, what I'm wondering is, like, are we going to do time travel? Like, it's about time.
Yeah.
And, like, it's also about time.
It's like a Ratchet and Clank, almost like a Ratchet and Clank pun, like, kind of.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, but I'm wondering if it's like a meta pun, like you've been waiting a long time. Because Ratchet and Clank isn't like that. They do, like, sexual innuendo puns.
Yeah, but, like, what I'm saying is it's a pun. It's a pun in that it does have time travel, but it's also a pun in that
it actually does have time travel.
You've been waiting for this for a long time. Oh yeah, that's what it focuses on. So
that's great.
Yeah. So it's the perfect name for it.
Yeah, there you go.
What's also kind of funny about this is like the PS2 Crash Bandicoot. I think it was Warped. Does that sound right?
I definitely recognize that name, but I don't remember which system was which.
That one, like, also had some kind of like time travel in it, and it also, like, on the cover had like a clock, and the 4 on the clock like was red to indicate that it was like the 4th Crash Bandicoot.
That's great.
So what's kind of funny here is they're kind of redacting everything that happened after 3. This is what it seems. So
well, that kind of reminds you of Ratchet and Clank, like not the one that was announced, but the reboot on PS4. There's a cutscene where, like, you meet the plumber just like in the very first game on PS2, and after you have your little talk with them, he leaves and he's like, "Well, bye, see you next reboot." Like, whoa, like, it's freaking great.
Oh, so Warped is 3. Wrath of Cortex is the 4th one.
Fair enough.
But I thought I remember there being a clock or something that indicated that it was the 4th game. But anyway, I don't see it. But maybe I'm just talking out my ass. But
yeah, everything you said was wrong. There's no such thing as Crash Bandicoot Warped.
I don't. No, Warped was 3. So I guess no. Okay, this is what it was. Warped has the 3 on the clock is red, indicating it's the 3rd game. So I was right,
you were
but
almost
with
there.
The wrong game. Yeah, with the wrong game. But anyway, they're writing out, I guess, everything past the PS1 era, which I guess that's fair because
I heard the other
everything
games
after
great.
that wasn't as popular.
I mean, even with Ratchet and Clank, like, A Crack in Time really felt like the end of the series. And then they did Into the Nexus, which was like, okay, And it's like, the series is over, start over, whatever.
Yeah, and I think this is also going to be a return to form to the PS1 style gameplay. So it's not going to be like open world or
Yeah,
you
it'll be
walking
like
around.
side-scrolling or running toward the screen. Or
Exactly.
away
So
from, I suppose.
it'll be a straight up platformer. Let me see what this trailer has, and it also has like one of those guys from the guy dressed up as Crash Bandicoot like in the original
Yeah, they
commercials.
did that way back in the day. Where he just... I
Yeah.
remember those commercials. He just shows up and he's in this goofy mascot costume. I think
Yeah.
Japan
So
did that for Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet would show up and just, like, mess up your stuff, and they'd be like, what? And they would cut the gameplay footage.
yeah, it's just a teaser trailer, so there's no definitive answer on that, but I
Yeah.
bet you that's what they're doing with this game.
Okay.
And it would be smart if that were the case. So I'm excited about that too. A brand new Crash Bandicoot game hasn't been made in a really long time. I mean, we had the
It's a remake.
Crash Team Racing and the Insane Trilogy, which have been really good remakes, but this is something brand new, so that's exciting. Moving on from that, a new Kingdom Hearts game was announced out of nowhere. Melody of Memory. This is a rhythm-based game for Xbox, PS4, and this is surprising. The Switch is getting it as well.
I was gonna say the Vita. What?
Nah, nothing for the Vita. But yeah, apparently this is going to have story chunks in it too. So like apparently, just like every other like Kingdom Hearts side game, it probably has something extremely vital to understanding the crazy ass story that they bring up in the mainline games.
Well, they started that shit real early. I remember watching my friend play. Yeah, exactly. I remember watching my friend play 2 when they talk about nobodies. Like you're supposed to just know what that means, and it's like, oh, well, didn't you know about the middle game and the Game Boy Advance? Like, are you fucking?
Yeah, you basically
really?
have to play you basically have to play every single game in this series to understand it.
And watch YouTube video of like the concert, which is canon.
Yeah, and that that's bananas.
Like
but
James Rolfe once made a video dedicated specifically to trying to put the Kingdom Hearts games like lore like in order, like without actually talking about the plot. Just like here's how the plot works. It's like
switching
insane.
Around. Yeah. I think this is cool. I mean, a rhythm game is very much at home on the Switch. I'm sure that's fine. But this is like the first time a Kingdom Hearts game has been on the Switch, which is pretty exciting. Not the first time, Chain of Memories was the first time it was.
Yeah,
on
I was gonna say
Nintendo
the first
system.
Kingdom Hearts game to be on the Nintendo was the second game ever made, the Chain of Memories.
Yeah. But this is good. It'll probably have a lot of really cute Disney songs on it, so that'll be fun. A lot of people really love like what was that game? Theater Rhythm had a bunch of like Kingdom Hearts songs on it.
Rhythm,
so yeah.
Oh, yeah,
those were a lot of fun.
Theater Rhythm. It's theater, obviously.
Get the
theater
hell
rhythm,
out of here.
Yeah.
The Theater Rhythm. Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme. But
you can't tell me what to do.
It's bobsled time.
I refuse to feel the rhythm and the rhyme.
For you, it was rhythm. For me, it was Tuesday.
All right. Game over.
Recon happens on Tuesday. Anyway, cool stuff. Moving on from that, this is a pretty big surprise, but there is a Windjammers 2 demo out on Steam right now. I'm excited about that. I haven't had a chance to boot it up yet. But that's pretty exciting in itself. They're probably looking to work out the kinks to make sure that they have a really good launch, which is very smart of them, because you don't want to lose the faith of the dedicated fan base of like Windjammers like right off the bat. You want to make sure you have like a really good experience, enough so that the new game is worth playing over the old one. So I'm hoping that it's good. I haven't had a chance to put it out yet, but that shows some good faith for sure, putting out a demo of it to make sure that they can make changes and things like that, and make sure that the online capabilities work and all that jazz. So it's free for Steam right now, so that's pretty cool.
I mean, it's a
Um,
demo. A demo better be free.
well, yeah. Moving on from that, that Namco Museum Archives 1 and 2 that we had talked about a couple weeks ago got released on, I think, pretty much everything. I think PS4, Switch, and Xbox. All three of them got those, and it ended up being the game list that we had talked about on the leaked Xbox page.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty excited about those. They're $20 each. I might buy like one at a time, that kind of thing. But I'm excited. I wish they would do like a bundle deal, like $35 for both. I would really like that. But I'm excited for that. Have some really great Famicom versions and NES versions of these games, as well as localized versions of several games that had never been released in the United States. So that's really cool. Also, Nintendo released this pretty cool freebie app called Jump Rope Challenge, and it's basically like you use the Joy-Cons and do jump rope. It's free. They just wanted to put something out so people in quarantine, had something that they could exercise with.
Yeah, Nintendo does stuff like this a lot. Like, I mean, even since the Famicom, like other things than gaming you could do with these systems. So like this feels right up their alley.
Yeah, I love Nintendo's minigames. I always have. I liked Rusty Slugger's Real Deal Baseball. That game's really a lot of fun. The WarioWare games, the Rhythm Heaven games. I love everything. I even like the mini games from Mario Party quite a bit. So
well, I mean, people especially like the mini games from Mario Party, except for Mario Party 1. But those games are great.
Yeah, well, Luigi just wins, but that's okay. But
that video is so funny.
It is funny, and but it's not realistic.
To be fair, yeah, it took many tries. It's not just you can do nothing and win. Like, that took a lot of effort to actually make, but it's really funny now that they did.
Yeah. But this is really cool. I mean, give it a try. It's free for anybody who wants to download it. That's pretty cool. Also out on Switch, a shmup classic, Ruiner, the twin stick shooter, that was out on Steam and PS4 a little while ago.
Yeah, it's been out around this. Yeah.
Came out around the same time as the other shmup. What was that one called?
Ex Machina.
Yeah, those two came out around the same time.
I don't really know much about Ruiner except for its neon aesthetic.
Music.
And,
music
that's the other thing I was going to mention. This
is
not part of the original soundtrack, but Ruiner has Island Door, Paranasian Circle by Suzumi Hirasawa, and it's one of his best songs, and it's like 13 and a half minutes long. It's fucking great.
Yeah, and Nex Machina was an awesome game too. I think
also a great soundtrack.
Yeah, both games are amazing. You got me that one on vinyl, right?
Nex Machina, yeah.
Yeah, Nex Machina. Yeah, I really advocate for twin stick shooters on the Switch. I think a lot of them are really a lot of fun. Debris Infinity is really good, and Crimson Land's a lot of fun.
Crimson Land's on Switch?
Yeah, Crimson Land's really good on Switch, in fact. Nice. I really enjoy it.
I beat Crimson Land way back in the day. It's cool that I didn't know it had a console release.
Oh, yeah. It's really good, and Assault Android Cactus just got on there only about a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's really a lot of fun, too. So, I would really like if Geometry Wars 3 got on there, because Geometry Wars 3 was an amazing game. It was a little chef's kiss. It was a really good way to send off the series. Like, it was just a perfect game. And I really loved what they did with that and how they expanded that series for that game. So, but anyway, really loved that. Definitely look into that. I'm not sure whether Ruiner has a good port yet. I need to do some research, but all the rest of the ones that I talked about do have good ports. Crimson Land runs beautifully. You can't even tell no slowdown or anything. So
yeah, and Crimson Land is a remake, by the way, because Crimson Land's
actually
like
a Flash game or something.
Yeah, it's an old game. Yeah. So the new version is what is available now, and it's solid. It's basically the same thing, but with a bit of a graphical and performance overhaul.
That game's a blast. I really like that one.
Oh, yeah.
moving on from that, we've talked about this game before, but like the anti-RPG
Yeah.
by Onion Games called Moon from way back in the day, from the makers of Tulip.
That's
and
so fucking weird.
Dandy Dungeon, and what is it? The Black Crow Story or whatever that's called.
Oh, that shooter.
Yeah, that game that plays like Fantasy Zone that got pretty famous over the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
Limited Run recently sold a physical of that.
Yeah. So those guys have been making great quirky games for a long time. I mean, I'm not putting Tulip in the great category, but
I mean, you go looking for kisses in a fucking weird game.
the rest of their games are quite good. That game is not, but they are nearing the completion of their localization for the Switch version of Moon. Moon has never gotten a fan translation or an official translation. It was originally on the PS1. It is beloved by many a person that knows Japanese. And has talked about it on forums for years. Our friend of the show, Tom Lipschultz, has talked about this game for years. So this is one of those cult favorites that has never really gotten a chance with a more mainstream audience. So I'm really excited for it. I'm really chomping at the bit from it, and it's really cool that the original company was willing to do this themselves and care about preserving their legacy and all that stuff, and showing other people in the future what they did. Moving on from that, just as a quick thing, Cyberpunk 2077, probably the biggest game of the year, has been delayed until November. That's not surprising. It's a gigantic game, and I'm sure they're trying to iron out all the kinks for the new systems as well. Because I believe we have confirmation that it's going to be on the Xbox Series X. We don't know about the PS5 yet, but I would be very surprised if this game wasn't on the PS5. I would be very surprised.
The Witcher was on, or Witcher 3 was on PS4, right?
Witcher 3 is on the Switch, and a good version of it. CD Projekt Red has always been dedicated to making their games accessible. So I'm sure they would put it on a toaster if they knew they would have an audience for it. So, I'm not surprised by this, but this company is also notorious for crunch. So I'm not feeling it for the programmers and anybody involved in that, but I'm certainly excited to see the game and hope that everything comes together in it. I'm a little weary on this game in particular in terms of social issues. It has some already like towing the line kind of stuff when it comes to trans things and I
Which
just
is
want to see
ironic
how.
considering you're transhuman in that game.
Well, I think they're trying to make a statement with that, but who knows whether they'll handle it well, because you got to be careful.
Like tone deaf, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be different if trans people were writing the story and helping make the game, but I don't think that's the case. That's the way it should be. If you're going to have a big product that has a lot of people making it, you should have consultations, to make sure that if you're going to make a statement, by including trans themes and things like that, make sure you do it right. It's probably well-intentioned, maybe, but don't
trip at the finish line.
Yeah, and I hope it is. I hope it's not a critique. It's actually like something that's supposed to lift people up. But who knows? I mean, CG Project Red has not had a good track record on trans issues. In fact, they've made several harmful jokes on their Twitter account, like the helicopter shit, that
tired thing,
yeah, exactly. And not only is it a stupid a stupid joke, but it's like a tire joke, and it's hurtful. And also I think they've said like an assume my gender joke as well. Well after people should have known better.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. They have said they were sorry for those things, and this seems to have some genuine thought behind it, because it's supposed to be. I think they said it's supposed to be a commentary on like how corporations want you to fit into a certain mold and things like that. So maybe it's it'll be good, but I'm reserving judgment, and I want to hear what actual trans people have to say about the game, before going full into it. Moving on from that, I just thought this was neat. Actually, Dracologist shared a link to this, but I've actually been following it for a little bit. There is a new emulator that you can buy on Steam for NES titles called 3D Sen. Have you had a chance to look at what this does to NES games?
Well, is this the thing that I've heard about from like several months back, where it was like Mega Man with the 3D block look?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what it'll do is you can play something like Castlevania, and it will look like you're on cubes, like walking across, and you're comprised of cubes like voxels and stuff like that. I'm sure not every game plays well with it, but the ones that they're showing off, which are important ones like Castlevania, Mario 3, and some quite some. It's a really good-looking emulator that does something neat that no other emulator does. So, and it's pretty cool that it's on Steam. I don't know what they're charging for this. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, it's like $9 at the moment for early access. So it's still in production, but it looks like, it looks like something that's going to be a lot of fun. So what's kind of funny is they are advertising this with like games that aren't real because they can't obviously put Mario.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So like, I'm wondering whether these are included because they look pretty awesome. Yeah, but apparently it's also VR enabled as well, which is pretty cool. So I'm pretty excited about this. The trailer doesn't do it justice. You must watch the reveals if you truly feel immersive in refreshing. How refreshing the experience is. Yeah, because in all the videos they're showing like homebrew games basically.
Yeah.
Because they can't advertise that this thing can play Mario. But it still looks neat. So definitely check it out. There's some really neat videos of Castlevania in it. I don't know whether this is for me, but I certainly like looking at it, which is pretty cool. Moving on from that, just some really cool like hacking news and some homebrew stuff. There is a new hack out for the PSTV that called the sharpscale hack that is apparently really amazing. There was a video that My Life in Gaming put out this week that I really enjoyed. Did you get a chance to take a look at this, or did you hear about this?
I did not see the video, but I did hear about this thing's existence. So I guess the idea is, of course, on the PSTV, just like the Vita, you could play Vita games, obviously, but you could also play a bunch of PSP games. Mm-hmm. But the PSP games like don't quite scale perfectly. Like it's very good, but it's not like you're playing on a PSP where the screen was designed specifically for that. So apparently the sharp scale makes the PSP games look a lot cleaner.
Yeah, and also PS1 games. Apparently, okay. My Life in Gaming is saying that as far as official hardwares goes, playing PlayStation 1 games with this makes it look better than any other hardware on like a flat screen.
Okay.
So they really loved how like PSP games looked and PS1 games. So for some reason Sony didn't do one-to-one scaling and all that kind of stuff. So it ends up that the the picture looks fuzzy for a lot of the games on the
It kind of
PSTV.
does, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a shame because some of these games can look really good if treated properly. So, also PS1 games are very much in need of a good solution since the PS3. So,
Yeah.
um, this is really good, and PSTVs are cheap as hell. So,
Are they?
this is really good. I
Wait,
don't know if they still are, but they were dirt cheap for
I
a
thought
long
they
time.
went up considerably. Like when I
Oh,
got
have they?
mine, it was like fucking $40. But like I
Well,
think once
I
people
bought
like
mine
learned
new.
about them, it like went up. I'll take a look.
Yeah, I mean PSTVs are really great. It's not just for playing Vita games. You can play PSP games on there, and
Yeah,
there
well,
are a
select
lot
PSP
of
games
games.
anyway.
A lot of them.
Now
Quite a bit.
PSTVs are kind of up there now.
Oh, okay. Let me
Like
see.
the cheapest one I
PSTVs are
see
over a
is
hundred
like
bucks. Wow.
yeah, the cheapest one I see is over $100.
Wow.
Actually, that's
Okay.
not true. The cheapest one I see is $83. I don't know if it has a controller or what, but like the inbox stuff is like pretty exorbitant. Like when I got a PSTV, zero fucks. Like GameStop
Yeah.
had like boxes of them that they couldn't get rid of. I got one for $40, but like that is not happening
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah. I definitely recommend this though. You can use PS3 or PS4 controllers on these things.
Yeah.
PS4 controller is probably best for if you want to do the touchscreen stuff
Yeah, you
for
could do a little mouse movement, yeah.
yeah for Vita stuff. But I mean it at this point it's not mostly for Vita because most of the great Vita games have been ported. I mean there's kind of
Yeah.
like what we talked about like
Yeah,
last one since Persona 4 Golden came out on PC.
yeah, there are very
There
few
are a
PS or Vita games that like are
handful.
only on the Vita.
Yeah, I mean, you have Uncharted, Golden Abyss.
Yeah, Silent Hill Book of Memories, if you could even attempt to
Si-
give a shit about that. Soul Sacrifice
yeah,
was the main one I saw mentioned.
yeah. Soul Sacrifice is a holdout. Wait, what else is there? There's that Sheer the Wanderer game. I think it's Sheer the Wanderer
Oh.
5.
Oh, and
It's
you know
probably
what? I think there's also the upgraded Muramasa, because that was originally a Wii
yes.
game, but the Vita one is better.
Yeah, so there is that game. The Sheer the Wanderer game is excellent. It's probably the best Sheer the Wanderer game. But here's the thing: it's getting ported to the Switch.
Okay.
They've announced that.
Yeah, but
They've
like the
announced it just for Japan, but I'm sure it'll
well,
come to the U.S.
yeah, because like in its
So
day, the PSTV was the best way to play. Well, not the best way to play Vita games because Vita's portable, but like it was Vita games with video out and also a bunch of PSP stuff. So now it's kind of just better PSP, I guess.
yeah. So here's my suggestion: if you're gonna get one of these, hack the shit out of it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
put a lot of great PS1 games and PSP games on it because PS1 titles will now look really great, and it is one of the best ways to play them. PS1 games.
Speaking of best ways to play them, this is just a little bit of an aside, but it's kind of funny to me. I once saw on Games Done Quick someone was speedrunning Silent Hill 1, and they were specifically playing it on Vita because the load time was a bit faster.
Yeah. I definitely recommend playing like the PS1 RPGs on this because the resolution switching is something
That is a good point.
that is really annoying if you're playing it through a scaler like a FrameMeister or OSSC.
Yes,
And
that's
there
that
are a
seriously is
lot of
brutal.
games. There are a lot of games that you would want to play that have resolution switching, particularly SquareSoft RPGs. Lots of SquareSoft RPGs, including Chrono Cross, is probably like the biggest one.
Yeah, the good news is Chrono Cross is readily available on PlayStation Network and PS3 as well.
Yeah, but that's if you still have your PS3 around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a really good way to play like import PS1 games,
Yes.
hacked PS1 games, hacked PSP games because plenty of them have fan translations now.
Yeah, Valkyria Chronicles 3, baby.
Exactly. The official Valkyria Chronicles 2 hasn't been ported either, so that's a good way to play it.
Well, that's a bit of a weird one because
Really?
yeah, because it is one of the games that I believe you can download from the Vita store, but not to the PSTV. I was able to get it to mine because
you might have to download it to your PS3 and then transfer
that
it.
is exactly what happened. It's so weird that you can do that. Like, you can't possibly play it on PS3, but you can download it to it, fuck it, and then transfer it to your PSTV, where you don't even have to jump through hoops on it. Like, how do I get the PSTV to play it now? Like, it just plays. Why you can't download it directly from the store, I don't know.
I think Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops was like that as well.
No, I think you can download that from the store directly. Just Dark Chronicles 2, they were just weird about. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That stuff is really weird, but a lot of PSP games are still available on the PlayStation Store.
Yes.
And a lot of them are super cheap. There's a lot of really great games that had never been ported elsewhere. Like there's I know probably the most prominent game is not on the store, which is Crisis Core.
That's a weird omission.
Yeah. Birth by Sleep was not available for a really long time, but now it's like on consoles, so it's irrelevant. But that one was never available digitally.
Most importantly, you could play Cho Anarchy 0 on the PSTV.
That's on there. Yeah, that's on there.
You can get that, but not fucking Crisis Core.
Yeah, fuck. What the hell? But there's a lot of really good PSP games. John d'Arc is on there.
Turd Birthday.
Turd Birthday's on there.
That is on there, yeah.
Chili Con Carnage. That's a really good underrated game.
It does kind of bug me though that like they don't have like Metal Gear Acid. I would like to be able to, because
Metal Gear Acid and Acid 2 aren't like, available digitally.
There's no reason you shouldn't be able. I mean, regardless of whatever they have on the store, it just bugs me that like you should be able to play literally any PSP game because they don't have weird touch controls or anything. I don't think they do touch controls on PSP.
No.
So you should be able to play every PSP game ever made without like. Not every Vita game's going to work. Some of them have gyro controls or, like, the squeezing, like, the front of the back buttons. You'll have trouble with that on the PSTV. Like, you just can't do some of those. But PSP, like, everything, whether it's, on the store or not, should at least be theoretically playable.
Well, you know what it is that when the PSP came out, only really small stuff was available digitally. It wasn't like every game was available digitally. A lot of stuff was just put out in UMD and that was it. And it wasn't until the PSP Go came out, which was a huge failure, that a lot of companies switched over to having digital versions.
Well, yeah, the PSP Go, I think, was a failure because you had to like rebuy all your games. Your UMDs don't work.
That was the problem. It was a good thing in concept, but they should have just started with that.
They should have just also play UMDs. It's like, no, too bad.
They should have just started that way. They should have just the PSP Go should have been the original version because
like with the PS5
that's why I didn't buy
it would be
it.
Well, that's the whole thing. Imagine if they did that. Like, how the PS5 they have like a physical and digital version versus digital only. It would be like if they released a digital only version later. That would be like time to upgrade. Oh, like it's just not happening.
Yeah. Well, they did that with the 360. There's
really?
like a digital only version of that, I think.
I don't think I even knew about that.
Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I just this is a bunch of malarkey. They thankfully one of the most prominent publishers on PSP, Capcom.
Yeah.
Has, I think, pretty much every one of their U.S. games is on there.
Yeah, they even got the Power Stone.
Power Stone collection is on there. There are 2 arcade collections, which are excellent, are on there. The Mega Man X, Maverick Hunter X remake, which is quite good. You can play
that was on there? I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, you could play as Vile in that and have his whole entire campaign.
As Vava.
Yeah.
I mean, if you thought Vile was way too close to Boba Fett, like, his fucking name is Vava in Japanese. It's, like, somehow even closer. And I think in Mega Man X8, he even goes green. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you just daring LucasArts? What are you doing?
Mega Man Powered Up is on there, which is a remake of Mega Man 1 that is quite good. Let me see here. They had Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts, which is contentious. Some people like it, some people don't. But the point is,
There's a lot of
they
good stuff.
tons of good stuff. I'm sure there's some Monster Hunter games that you could torture yourself with if you want to go back that far.
Were there PSP ones? I know. I guess there
Oh
was. Yeah,
yeah.
like Freedom Unite. I forgot if they were on PSP or Vita, but yeah, like Freedom Unite.
Are you kidding me? The reason why Monster Hunter is popular is because of the PSP.
Okay, no, I'd forgotten if it was the PSP or the Vita, but yeah, Freedom Unite was PSP, wasn't it?
Monster Hunter G, yeah, Freedom Unite.
Yeah, I hear Freedom Unite is like one of the harder ones too, and that whole series is hard.
Yeah. In fact, people would. That's the reason why the PSP was so popular in Japan. Is that was the way to play Monster Hunter back in the day. So,
Yeah, because
but
the PS2 version was not like I heard it's
wasn't
like the
very
weakest
popular.
of them. Yeah, like I remember
Yeah.
I had mentioned to Mr. Ryu because he's a big Monster Hunter fan. I remember back when retro game stores still had PS2s, PS2 games in them, like even some of the more mainstream stuff. I'm like, oh, dude, I saw a Monster Hunter like original at this one store for like $15 or whatever. If you want to go get it,
It's like it's not worth it.
Nah, yeah. It's like novelty at best.
At least it has dual stick controls, which it took until the 3DS Frankenpad to come out until they got dual stick support
Yeah.
again, which was very annoying. You basically had to contort your hand to play the PSP version. Like they called it like the claw, like the way you had to play it is ridiculous. Yeah, one of the PSPs for all the things that the PSP did right, the major thing that I got wrong was no second stick. It just had a left stick, not a right stick,
like
which is ridiculous.
Like a little nub.
And it's also ridiculous that the 3DS was that way too. Like they knew better at the time.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Yeah, at the time, like I was so disappointed in both of them when they were announced.
You know how we've had dual sticks since like the PS1.
PS1.
Let's not do that. Yeah.
It's been the de facto way to control 3D games since then on a console-like system. Just do it. If you're gonna have 3D games, like if you only have 2D games, sure, okay. But like if you're gonna be pushing 3D games, which they did on the PSP,
yeah, give me a break.
Them. Yeah, exactly. Moving on from that, so I went over a hack, Saturn hack, a couple Saturn hacks before. There was like an Ultraman one that I went over, and also a Symphony of the Night hack, where a new one for the King of Fighters 95 just came out. I think by the same people that did the Ultraman one. So Ultraman and King of Fighters 95 had a proprietary ROM cart that you needed to buy like the original game that came with the ROM cart in order to play it. You couldn't get like the generic 4 megabyte cart that you could play like all the Capcom games with or anything like that. It had its own. So like if you were playing like the ISOs or anything like that, you have no way of playing this game. You have to buy like the original with its ROM cart in order to get it to work. Somebody hacked it to get it to work with the like 4-in-1 action replay that a lot of Saturn owners have. So that's really awesome.
Yeah,
it's really
Saturn
cool.
action replay is like one of the best action replays.
Yeah,
because
it's great.
It's like that 2 megabyte memory expansion, the 4 megabyte memory expansion, a memory card, and an action replay.
Yeah, and it was also very prevalent. Like people that owned a Saturn, like for years, like I'm gonna say 15 years, people would buy these things. Like
yeah, and also just using it, you don't even have to put any weird codes in. Just having it in your Saturn meant that you could play foreign games.
Furthermore, you could hack it and turn it into a pseudo Saturn where you could play like burn discs with the help of it.
That's nuts.
So yeah, they're extremely useful, and almost all Saturn owners have one. So it's really cool that this exists. I mean, I'm not super excited because this is King of Fighters 95. We have arcade perfect versions of this all over the fucking place. There's arcade perfect version of it on the Switch, the PS4. you could play it on Mister, which is how I would be playing it, which is which is even more arcade perfect than those simulations, even closer to that. I also have an MVS if I want to play it on that. So, um, I just think it's cool that people have access to it now. Moving on from that, the SD to SNES has been getting a lot of, and it's now called the FX pack because of, SD is like a trademark term. Is getting some fan hacks to it. There apparently have been some recent fan firmwares, and one of them has like all of the same features as the. This is the most prominent flash cart for the Super Nintendo. It allows you to play everything, including special chip games, Yoshi's Island and Star Fox and all that stuff, FX chip games. So this the fan one gives you all the abilities that the official one does, but it also adds save states, which is really cool. That's a really great feature for any anything SNES and before. Save states are extremely useful, especially in a lot of games that didn't have save functions and things like that. And nowadays, if you get interrupted, you don't have to leave your system on, so you can go do something and then come back to it. You could just do a save state and use it as a regular save, basically, and come back to your game whenever you want. It's also really cool for things like Mario Paint, because you could do a save state and save your work that way, which is really, really cool. Also, this just dropped. Smoke Monster did a reveal about a half hour ago about this on Sunday. Somebody hacked together Super Game Boy support for this thing, so that you could play your Game Boy games, but with all the borders and extra features.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Of the SD of the Super Game Boy, and they based it off of the Super Game Boy 2, which is
I was actually going to ask about that. Yeah,
the more accurate version of the Super Game Boy, and so you'll be able to play things like Mega Man 5 on Game Boy with all the colors. All the extra stuff. You'll be able to play that really cool version of Space Invaders that only exists when you play the Super Game Boy version of it. Like when you put that in there, it becomes an entire Super Nintendo game. Like, it's not even like a Game Boy game. It's really, really cool. It's just really neat that there are continuing to have innovations here, and apparently it's FPGA based, so like the code that was used they're speculating might even be able to be ported to Mister as well. So maybe sooner or later you'll be able to play the Super Game Boy versions of these Game Boy games, because that's a really cool thing, because the Super Game Boy stuff really enhanced quite a few of those games, including Donkey Kong 93. Looks particularly good that way. I don't like playing it any other way, in fact, because like the enhancements are just really that neat. Really cool borders and unique color palettes for those games. So I'm excited about that. Did you have anything else that you wanted to announce or go over, Lotus?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, like Omicron, which has already started to go up.
How do you like that, by the way?
It makes me think of Kingsfield, where it was panned at the time because what the hell are you supposed to do? But now that walkthroughs are out and you could just follow the steps, you're like, oh, actually, I see what this game's doing. So it's not bad. But without a guide, no thanks.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, including Omicron, and getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider following my Patreon accounts, which can be found at patreon.com/lotusprince.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We will catch you on Thursday for another Sega episode. It's a part 4 of our retrospective on the history of Sega, so I'm super excited about this. This is going to be about the end of the Dreamcast and post-Dreamcast Sega, so this will be a lot of fun to talk about.
Until next time,
All right.
everyone.
We'll catch you then. Bye.